Good morning, everybody, and you're very welcome to the United Hebrew Congregation of Newcastle on Tyne. That means that this synagogue here is an Orthodox synagogue, and I'm going to explain about a couple of things on the outside of the synagogue, which is part of our heritage. So on the left-hand side here, we've got when the stone was laid, which was the 22nd of Elul 5745. The Jewish calendar is different. It's a lunar calendar. And very interestingly here, we've got the what's called the entablature of the oldest synagogue in Newcastle, which was opened in 1838. So that tells you that the Jewish community goes back quite a long way in Newcastle. So this is the community hall where we have all sorts of meetings, parties, events, and we can create it into all sorts of things. We've got a very imaginative rabbi and his wife. The very first thing that I show people when they come into the synagogue is this box. It's called a mezuzah, which actually means a doorpost. It's not empty. Inside here is a piece of scroll with a prayer from the Torah. So in a way, it's a mini Torah. And you will find that on the outside of Jewish religious buildings and in our homes. So I have one on all the doorposts in my house, except the bathroom and toilet, because you don't live in there. Tradition, not law, because there is a distinction, is that you touch it as you go in and you touch it as you go out. So you're connecting with God. That's what it's all about. You're asking God to look after you in your home, but also to look after you in the wide world. One of the things I want to stress is the diversity within Judaism. It's a bit dated now, but I'm sure you will recognize some of the people in there, and that we're not all the same. And we're not necessarily Orthodox Jews. The layout of the synagogue is of an Orthodox synagogue. The ladies, in fact, would be sitting upstairs and the men downstairs, because the men lead the service. The men have much more of an obligation to pray because they tended to be outside, in the outside world. We are supposed to be born more spiritually than the men. It's intrinsic in us. And although the ladies sit upstairs, what we've got here is a mechitza separating the men from the women if the ladies can't get upstairs. We don't have a lot of hierarchy in the synagogue anymore. That's gone. And so, again, that sense of we're all equal in God's eyes. And then we've got the bimah, the platform, raised up, looking slightly different at the moment because of the COVID regulations, but actually it doesn't impinge too much. Rabbi Aaron stands up there to read from the Torah, but it's not just him. There will be 7 men called up to read a prayer. And then possibly, if there's a special occasion, there are 2 sets to the prayer. There's the portion of the law which comes from the Torah, and then there's a piece from the writings, which is usually thematically linked. In order for a service to begin, we have to have 10 men. Minyan is 10 men. The Torah scrolls, because they are our most precious item, are dressed in the very best of materials. So velvet covering, silver shield, and the things on the top are called rimonim, crowns. So again, the idea of the kingship of God. And the yad's around the back. The pointer, the yad. As I said before, they don't touch the scroll with their bare hands because your fingers might not be clean, and they are holy words. The focal point of the synagogue is the ark, the Aron HaKodesh in Hebrew. The curtain reminds us of the box where the 10 Commandments were kept. Now, we're coming up to Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. The curtain will be changed. It will be white. The covers on the Torah scrolls will be changed. They will be white because it's a time of renewing your confidence in God, your relationship with God, and it's a time of forgiveness. Above that, you've got the everlasting light, again, a reminder of God's presence. And candles are very important to us. Obviously, that's electric, because we can't keep candles lit for health and safety reasons. And then above that, we've got, in Hebrew, a reminder, Da lifnei mi ato omed, remember where you are. And then above that, we've got the Jewish symbol of the Star of David and the Hebrew letter H for Hashem.
Hi, my name is Rabbi Lipsey. I'm the rabbi of the Jewish community here in Newcastle. I see my role as being supportive, being alongside, rather than leading. I sit over here, and as I'm sat in my seat, so I'm looking out at the community, at the congregation. And that's a particular style of synagogue setup. The synagogues that I grew up in, the rabbi would be sitting this way, at the front, but facing away from the community. And Chief Rabbi Mervis talks about this. And he says that there are those communities where the rabbi is at the front with his back to everyone because he's leading. And he's saying, follow me. There are other communities, as ours, English communities particularly, where the rabbi is sat at the front facing the community and saying, come to me. And that's, I think, my problem. I grew up in a follow me environment, looking up to spiritual giants and rabbis and leaders and following in their path. And now I'm in a role where I'm meant to be encouraging people towards me. I'm much more comfortable, actually, putting an arm around and pulling everyone along together. There's an old song, don't walk in front of me, I may not follow, don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Just walk beside me and be my friend, and together we'll walk in the way of God. It doesn't quite scan in English, but it works in the song. And that really is my sense of leadership. I feel that it's about encouraging others, being alongside others and helping them in their journey, because no one can follow my journey. That's my personal, unique way in life. But others have their own personal and unique ways in life. And if I can assist them in that, then I suppose for me that's what my spiritual leadership comes to. Very different to, I think, what I would perhaps aspire to be, which is the sort of inspirational example that people want to emulate. It's more about allowing people to grow and develop in their own ways, in their own lives, in their own relationship with God, and of course in a wider sense with the community and with others outside the community as well. That's all part of it.
We believe that we were created by God in his image, and therefore we don't have people in the windows, and what they represent are the various festivals that we have. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Listen, Jewish people, for you there is only one God. And that is said morning and evening. But there are other lines to it that to me are very important. And the important thing is that you shall teach them to your children. The next generation is hugely important. We have a prayer for most of the actions that we do. So the putting on of the Tallit, and there is an art to doing that, isn't there? And the married men wear a Tallit in synagogue. Martin is saying the prayer in Hebrew, because Hebrew is the language of liturgy. Hebrew is the language that we use in the synagogue, in this kind of synagogue. So Martin's wearing his Tallit, and you can see there are fringes with knots on. Now, they've worked out, and don't ask me how, it's the knots and the fringes that add up to 613, and they are the number of rules that are written in the Torah. So nobody can remember these, all of them, and that is a reminder. Now, you will notice also that Martin is wearing a head covering, a kippah, a yarmulke, a kappel. We have 3 words where there could just be one, out of respect for the building. Now, somebody like our rabbi will wear his kippah all the time. At morning prayers, the Shema asks the men to put on tefillin, which just means boxes, phylacteries in English. But those boxes are very special. and there's a particular way of putting them on. The boys are given these at their bar mitzvah. One goes round the head and the other one goes round the left arm. Why specifically those things? The head, what's inside your head? Your brain. So only in the morning, only during the week, not on Shabbat, the men will lay tefillin at the morning service. They are having quiet time, reflection with God before they face the big wide world. And then it's the left side leading to the heart. So showing the love that you have for God. So that's what, again, that's the symbolic article is. You see how the care with which he puts it on. It's not higgledy-piggledy. Does the arm one always go on first?
What happens actually is you put it half on.
Right.
Then you put the head on, and then you finish off by wrapping it round the middle finger 3 times, then round here, and this forms the letter.
It's shin.
It's a shin.
Shin, from Shema.
Yes.
This is the door to what we call the Mikveh, which is a ritual bath. And I believe, actually, either in Bath or Bristol, they found one. I can't remember which town it is. So, married women, well, no, before you get married, to purify yourself, it's not a spa, it's a small pool. It should have rainwater in it. And I think there was a problem with the rainwater when the synagogue was first built, but anyway, they sorted it out. And a bride often will go there to cleanse herself. You've got to be completely immersed, clean your fingernails, things like your tummy button, makeup off, and your hair needs to float in the water. So often women will do that symbolically before they get married, but very observant women will do it after every period. Now that doesn't mean they're dirty or anything. And for them, often during that time, it's called niddah. The women, the men and the women do not sleep together, so that after she's been to the mikveh and sort of re-cleansed herself, if you like, it's almost as though they've have a honeymoon all over again. Right, the kitchen's divided into 2 halves. You've got the meaty area there and the milky area there. So the milky area is vegetarian and fish. So we have 2 sets of pots and pans, knives, and they're usually colour-coded. It has to be strictly kosher. Why? Because it says so in the Torah. So no pork, no shellfish. The fish have to have fins and scales. And then the other main idea is not mixing meat and dairy together. And the other thing that's not on there, but is important, is gelatine. So we have kosher Haribo, kosher, and marshmallows are the other thing. We're very lucky to have this wonderful facility. We have to call it a facility, not a shop, because it's in a suburban area. Because there are many people in our community who part of their lives, an important part of their lives, is keeping kosher, sticking to the food laws. Very important is kosher salt. It's got to be supervised.
It has to be supervised because of contamination.
And to be able to come here and to buy food that they know is completely kosher, it's helping to continue to keep Jewish life alive in Newcastle. Kim and I both belong to an organisation called the Association of Jewish Refugees. Now, I'm not, but I'm second generation. One of the things that a lot of the communities have done is put together a memorial book of those that we've lost in the Holocaust. And my father's story is in there. So it's a lovely way of remembering. It was a way of me finding out a bit more about my family. Right, you can see that we've got a big security gate here. And unfortunately, most synagogues, Jewish schools, and Jewish establishments need to be aware of their security. In the last couple of years, and particularly this year, there have been problems around security because of the rise of anti-Semitism. The government has given money for places like this, so on a Saturday we actually have a security guard. So wherever somebody builds a synagogue, it's got to be safe.